everybody. Welcome to the podcast. First of all, my deepest condolences to those who died in the flood in Safi. It's a really sad situation to see, and like their response system is just so low and weak, and I don't know how to describe it. Just it is so sad to see something like this happens over and over again, and we always look for someone to blame. So yeah, sorry about that. And today's podcast is just going to be about that, about the floods in Asfi. It's a sad situation, and the only thing I can do here is just talk about it. So, yeah, why? Why? We always ask why, what happened, right? Because if you think about it, yes, there was a storm, the rain did not stop pouring, and yes, that may as well be the cause of floods. But if you really think about it, could these torrential rains catch like a city by surprise like this? And the answer to that, yes, if we live in like the 16th or 17th century. But if you think about it, Safi is just a very old city, right? And I feel like the people in charge don't really think too much about the sewage system, which is extremely narrow. Like imagine like you have the drainage system and the sewage system, they cannot like sustain that amount of rain. So naturally, definitely these gutters are gonna overflow. So water will not find a way to go. So it will be outside. And something like this, just like an amount of rain that we got on Sunday, is definitely going to throw the city into chaos, like it did on Sunday. But again, we always have to ask the question, like, how could something like just like this kill so many people? I was looking at the videos on social media, and it was crazy. Like the amount of flood, the amount of the property damage the city suffered, and the drains were completely overwhelmed. Those streets completely turned into rivers. People like were swimming there, and it's really sad to see. Like, how could the infrastructure could not have sustained just this amount of a flood? Like seriously, like you could just build a sewer system that could sustain the flood. This is a again, the city shouldn't have been neglected. Why should you build? I always go back to the question: why should you build $1 million stadiums and forget about the sewer system, the infrastructure, the roads, right? The important elements of a city. It's like the pillar of a city. If you really want to build a city, starts with sewerage system and drainage system. That's to predict what's going to come in the future. You can't always have stability, especially with climate change. Things are changing. We no longer live in this controlled environment where everything is predictable. Like you would never know what's going to hit you tomorrow, right? It's very unpredictable. And yeah, we have to be prepared. Same thing what happened in the house there, an area where earthquakes are not supposed to happen. It happened, right? So we have to be prepared. And I feel like most people that are responsible, they only prioritize areas that are like present issue, not a future issue, which is like very sad to hear, to be honest. I mean, this inadequate infrastructure, the poor drainage, the blocked drains that you've seen, the clogged gutters, it was just something you don't really expect from this amount of rain, right? It wasn't like something like 2 or 3 days of rain. It was just over a span of 2 or 3 hours, the city was flooded. It's not something you'd expect. Like, how can our drainage system not sustain this amount of rain in a very short time, right? How could you not really foresee this and not predict that something could really throw the city into chaos? And the result of this miscalculation is that a lot of people lost their lives. Like more than 40 people now died just because someone could not really work on this sewer system. Someone could not really build a proper drainage system. We should have drains all over the city. You should predict something like a flood. But if you look at Safi, there aren't a lot of drains there, right, to sustain this amount of water, right, or rainfalls, right. It's very very sad to see. Like there is nothing that prepared the city for the damage it got. A lot of people are still stranded, and then you get also property damage. Oh my God, you see cars, houses, all of them destroyed, and the debris. People lost a lot of money in there, right? And I mean, we don't care too much about money. The only thing that we care about is that people died, right? I mean, you can replace whatever that can be replaced, but if someone died, you cannot really replace them. So that's the sad thing about it, is that I feel like there was so much that was lost in just a couple of hours. This is like insane. I don't know. Like, how can something that is so preventable throw the city into this devastating chaos? And it's just really, really unspeakable. Like, every time like I think about Morocco, I'm like, oh my God, why this, why that, why that? I feel like most of the money that is supposed to be spent on the infrastructure, building roads, is basically allocated elsewhere. People only spend half of the budget, and the other half is spent elsewhere. And now we get a lot of people lost. And and what you get, once they find a responsible person, the person that did not build the sewer system, they're gonna give them like 5 years or 2 years in prison, right? It's not really 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 fair, to be honest, because a lot of people lost their lives recently. I think 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in China, they caught this minister, I believe, of agriculture. They caught him, I think, in a situation of bribery. They gave him capital punishment, right? And I think that's what should be given to those responsible, those people that are really like cause situation like this, neglect, they don't really allocate the money properly. I think they should be given the most severe punishment there is, because a lot of people died. If a lot of people died because of your carelessness, why should you get a benign punishment? This is not really, really fair. This is not to call into action. It's just, again, to shed light on what's going on and what is happening in Morocco. And again, I always get frustrated hearing and seeing these situations like happen again and again, and in recent years they are just piling up, and these responsibles are showing their true colors, and you see them on Twitter. It's because of that, it's because of that, it's because people build next to a river. People should not build next to a river, right? Yes, there is that. Definitely agree, people should not build next to a river, but why should you let them to begin with? The responsibles are going to say, look, do not build next to a river. People are going to go and build next to a river. And then after stuff happened, the government is going to say, I told you so, checkmate. It should not be like this, right? Do not build next to a river. You have to protect it. Nobody should build. You have to make sure that nobody builds next to a river. People are not aware of what's going on. People don't have the vast knowledge of rivers, of that rivers never die. Rivers always come back to life. Rivers, even if there is drought in that area, when there is an amount of rainfall, like we got the torrential rains, I think the river is going to come back again, but people don't really know that. So as a responsible, as an authority, as someone who knows a lot, you should prevent people from building there, right? You should not just tell them, do not build there. You should make sure that people don't build next to a river. Don't like tell them like, look, I told you don't build next to a river. You should not just tell them that's a red area and you should not build there. This is like stupid. If I were, to say who's to blame here, definitely the responsible. It's definitely the government. People are citizens. People don't have so much knowledge. People are not advanced. Most people that built there aren't really highly educated. Then probably poor. That's why they built there. They need money, right? So you, as someone who has knowledge of rivers, knowledge of potential problems that could, cause a flood, cause these houses to just collapse, you should stop that from happening, right? The moment someone starts to build, just make sure that, like, look, you gotta stop this. Just destroy their property. Like, you can destroy the houses before they die, and they might as well just lose the house than lose their lives. And yeah, it's really sad. I'm looking at so in 2011, Copenhagen was hit by this devastating floods, and you know what they did to prevent that? So over the years, they expanded the sewage system, the drainage system. They built ponds to contain all of that flood or rainwater when rain falls, right? And today, no matter how much rain they're gonna get, it is always going to be completely managed. The sewer system is not gonna be overwhelmed. There is no cluttered gutters. It's just so well managed. And I feel like in Morocco, we've had floods over the years, but we do not learn from our mistakes. We do not learn that stuff are going to happen. We just don't expect stuff to happen. Again, as I said before, we all need pay attention to the present moment. We don't really think of something unpredictable. Like 1 + 1 = 2, right? Yes, that's logic. Yes, but if you think about nature, nature is so unpredictable. Weather is one of the most unpredictable things on planet Earth, especially with climate change. You cannot predict what you're gonna get, right? You get rain in a place where you're not supposed to get rain, right? You get earthquakes where in places where you're not supposed to get earthquakes. With this amount of predictability, you have to make sure that every city is well built, the infrastructure is able to sustain amount of rain or flood. If there is a flood, it could be easily well managed. And also, the infrastructure should be able to sustain like an earthquake. The last earthquake we got in Al House was not really that massive, and still the death toll was huge. More than 4,000 or 3,000 people died in something that could have easily been prevented. Yeah, it's a very, very sad situation to talk about and also to hear. But again, I'm only here to talk and shed light on these ideas and stuff that happened in Morocco, controversial things that could have been prevented. Loss of life could have easily been prevented as well. And it's just so sad. But yeah, hopefully today's podcast gave you some ideas. But yeah, until then, thank you so much and bye.